Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to the Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Today, our guest is Florind. Florind, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. So, let us know where you live and what you do.
So I'm based out of Toronto, Canada, and I run a performance marketing agency, specifically helping e-com stores sell more through online channels.
Awesome. So, let us know what are your core responsibilities in your company, because every entrepreneur wear multiple hats, and you must be wearing also multiple hats. But what is your core responsibilities in the company?
Sure. So I oversee overall strategy when it comes to implementing campaigns for clients. I oversee creative strategy. I oversee pretty much campaign strategy. And other than that, I'm also involved in the sales process. I have a team of creators, editors, and also some junior salespeople that help me kind of stay on top of it.
Awesome. That sounds good. So let us know a little bit about your marketing side as well, because marketing is an essential for any business. So how you are running your marketing? Are you just relying on online marketing? Are you relying on offline marketing as well?
Honestly, in any business, it's very healthy to have a good mix of everything.
Yeah.
So for us, we rely heavily on word of mouth. Essentially, all of our clients have been with us for more than 4 years plus, and they are our biggest, supporters and spokespeople. So they usually refer a lot of business to us. And then the second way that we do things is we do inbound leads through platforms like LinkedIn, where I am heavily active in, content writing, blog articles, and then we also do email outreach, where we strategically identify brands that would be a good fit to work with us, and then we send them tailored emails to, what we feel like are their areas improvement and where we kind of fit in.
All right. So, in terms of email marketing, I believe most of the businesses do this, but many of them can complain that it is very hard to generate a lead from the email marketing because this is more like a cold emailing. So, in this case, getting responses is a big challenge. So, are you getting responses, and how is it working for you?
So the way is that we stay active on all fronts. So when we are trying to target a particular company, we identify who the ideal contact is for us. Then we make ourselves seem present in their lives. So whether it is, liking their LinkedIn post or sending them a connection with a little request, just so that when our name pops up, it looks a little familiar. It's like, oh, where have I seen this guy? Or, oh, I remember I saw his post on LinkedIn. So it's, making ourselves seem like we're familiar with what it is that we're doing, of what it is that they're doing.
All right. And what is the percentage of getting replies? Like out of 100, what is the percentage?
So I just want to kind of, first of all, set out that the brands that we're targeting, we know that they don't have a heavy flow of emails coming in. So we genuinely tend to start out with brands that are doing anywhere between $10,000 to $25,000 a month in revenue. And we know that their volume of emails, specifically when it comes to the operations of their business, isn't necessarily high. And we use, targeted subject lines that we know that they'll open. So our open rate for our emails ranges depending on, how big we go on the brands, from 65% open rate to 75% open rate.
Makes sense. That's a good number, by the way. Okay, so what's your client onboarding process? Like how you onboard a client, and is there any eligibility criteria as well, or you can go without it?
Yeah, so there is an eligibility criteria. They have to commit to spending a certain amount of ad spend per month. The way that we do this is that number one, we have like a pre-qualification survey that they must take, and we must understand where they fit. And the onboarding process is essentially very simple for us. It's once we have all of the information of this pre-qualification survey, tend to do like an intro call and kind of understand the challenges of their business and their long-term goals of what they want to achieve. And then we kind of really tailor it down by asking, the first step is to always ask for analyst access to, the platforms that they want to advertise on, and all of wherever they're collecting data. So we can see, what is happening around their business, where there are certain, KPIs that don't align. We tend to look at the whole funnel, like what is happening once somebody comes to the website, how many times do they come to the website before they buy something, how many how many times they view a product, how many times they add to cart, they initiate the checkout. So we try to understand, where there are shortcomings in the funnel and try to understand why. And then we provide our clients with a solution.
Makes sense. Completely makes sense. All right. So most of the time, businesses do have their own differentiators. 100% sure this is not a compulsory thing to have something unique, but still businesses do have their own differentiators. So in terms of your business, what are your differentiators from the market?
So we offer two business models. So one of the first business models and how we essentially started in this industry was a performance-based model, that if what we're doing doesn't deliver sales, then we don't get paid. And this is to ensure that we are committed to the success of the client, because if we are not succeeding and we are not delivering sales, then we are not being paid. And we are using up a lot of resources, right, to make sure that we are achieving this success. So this is always a big differentiator between us and some of these brands that are very kind of like on the edge about spending, X amount of dollars. It is the best way for us to put, our skin in the game as well, that their success means that we are also succeeding and getting compensated for it. So that is essentially, the biggest differentiator between us and a lot of brands. And I want to highlight that this is very risky.
Yeah.
Obviously, like high risk, but very high rewards. And when we first started, it wasn't so capital intensive as it is now. But now it is more capital intensive because we have to create a lot of content to kind of, get the ball rolling.
Makes sense. So when you are putting your skin in the game, so do you do the partnerships as well? Because sometimes businesses offer some sharing and they want to find some solutions in this case as well, where they want to spend less, but they are willing to share the percentage. So do you accept these sort of offers as well?
It all depends. So speaking from a very detailed perspective, for example, is we would have to have a look at the profit margins of the business, right? We would have to look at, how much it's going to acquire to cost the client. We would have to see it's all based on, a deep analysis of if we fit into this model. So essentially, for example, there are some industries where the cost per acquisition is going to be relatively high, which will mean that it's going to squeeze in their profit margins. It's going to tighten them a little bit. And then do we have room to be in those small profit margins, and is it going to be worth it? So if a brand, for example, is going to spend $5,000 and we know that after a couple of weeks of advertising that we are getting a 3 return, that means on their $5,000 investment, they're going to make $15,000. How much are we going to make on that $15,000? And is that going to be worth it for us? So it's really understanding the unit economics of the business, right? And seeing if there's a place for us to be in there.
Yeah, this completely makes sense. And this is more attractive for many of the customers, because even for us, sometimes this happens. In fact, many times this happens that people come to us and they ask for something to develop, and at the end, we end up with some sort of shares as well. So, well, this makes sense. Completely makes sense. All right. So, in terms of your short-term goals, because you are the one who is planning and working on the strategies. So, what are your short-term goals like in next 3 to 6 months?
So the goals change. So right now we are in a very, very dynamic state of the economy. And there's a lot happening on the political side that we don't have certainty. We don't know what is going to happen. There are things that are out of our control. So in the next, 3 to 6 months, it's really trying to figure out what is going to be the definite standard of how things are going to operate. And then kind of, being set up that we'll be able to survive this wave of what is coming up next. So yeah, that is essentially it. It is trying to understand, what is going to be the new norm, and then, operating within those norms, adjusting to, what the new market is going to be, and pivoting so that we can continue, having success in the space.
While we are talking about the pivot is one of the scariest word in that field of entrepreneurship. Many people love it, and there are many people are afraid of it. So what do you think about the pivot? Because I believe pivot may have different feelings for every entrepreneur. So what do you think about the pivot? How frequently a business should pivot, or when a business should start about pivoting?
So, okay, right now things are moving at a very exponential pace. So, as a business owner, you have to pivot all the time, right? Like, let's just use the whole AI thing that is happening right now. Like, you are being forced to pivot. Like, my designers, right? They can now do things a lot faster, which means that we can take bigger creative swings at a much faster pace. So personally, I love the pivot. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to pivot. Like, it is essentially what is going to keep your business alive. It is what is going to keep, the blood flowing, the motivation going, because the moment that you get complacent, the moment that you think, oh, this is good enough, and you don't need to make that change, you tend to fizzle out because there's no more drive, right? Like, I think that changes in everything keep entrepreneurs pushing forward. They keep innovating, keep finding new ways to continue their professional growth and their personal growth.
Yeah, completely makes sense. So, in terms of your long-term goals, because obviously long-term goals are completely separate from the short-term goals. So, in terms of long-term goals, what is the process of defining the long-term goals, and what are your long-term goals maybe after 4 or 5 years?
So we operate kind of like as a boutique agency. Like, we're never going to be the kind of agency that has, 70 clients, 80 clients, right? All at the same time. We like having a tight ship, and we like having clients that we know have the potential to grow even further. So our goals are directly tied to the success of our clients. So we currently work with 7, 8 figure brands, and we work with another 13 6-figure brands. So the idea is to, in 5 to 10 years, is to get the 6-figure brands into the 7-figure space and get the 7-figure brands into the 8-figure space. And that will essentially mean the growth of our team. But the way that we see it is that it is better to focus on clients that have exponential potential to grow than to just have, a whole bunch of clients. So that is the philosophy, is to be growing along our clients in this journey.
Completely makes sense. All right. So let's talk about a little bit about the challenges, because challenges are also one of the essential part for any business, and every entrepreneur face a lot of challenges, and they learn from challenges. Obviously, can you share one challenge that where you can tell us like how you were able to cope up with it and what you learned out of it?
Well, I think because we're having this discussion right now, I think one of the biggest challenges that we are facing is right now. And I can tell you a little bit about, how we are preparing and, putting the things in step to overcome this challenge, and kind of speak more on the whole pivoting point.
Awesome.
So right now, the e-commerce industry is about to face a big change. Now, there is tariffs that are being implemented on China. There are so many, American businesses that are not bringing in any shipments because, they will have to pay hefty tariffs. Yeah. So now, what do you do? Right? Like, my entire business depends on selling these products. Now, what do you do when the client is not willing to invest in his own company because there is uncertainty, right? So the number one thing is that we are on top of the news. We are staying up to date with everything that is happening, okay? Because information is key. It will allow you to make the next best decision. And you can also offer solutions. You can keep a tight relationship with the client and give them information that maybe they may be missing out on. So this is very important. The second thing is really understanding how consumers are reacting to this. So not only are we managing the relationship with our clients, but you also have to think about the consumers and how they're reacting to the news, how it's impacting their buying process, and you have to make adjustments there. Then the second thing is you have to persevere through all of it. Like, no matter how difficult things get, there is always a solution. There will always be a way to do things. And you have to have that self-belief that no matter what, you are going to come out okay at the end of it. So this is the biggest challenge that we are facing right now. And essentially what we are doing is we are working with the client to understand their position. For example, one of our clients, they understand that this is going to be a big change in their business model. So they want to recoup as much capital back as possible. So what do? We run sales, focus heavily on the sales to get as much capital back as possible so that they can pivot. So this is the challenge, right? It's like every client has a unique problem and you have to offer the solution to their unique problems. And the more problems that you solve, the faster you come out of the challenges. Perseverance, making sure that you are informed as much as possible on, everything that is happening so you can make sense of everything and be prepared.
So while we are talking about the current situation in the e-commerce, what do you think the tariff war is going on? And in this case, majority of the entrepreneurs are worried about their business, about their capital as well. So let's say if this thing persists, then what do you think? What would be the future of businesses? Because I think this is going to make very drastic change, and probably the businesses who are getting a lot of things out of America, or you can say like from China even, will they be going to start manufacturing all those things from within the USA, or this may have some other way around as well?
So, it's very difficult to say because nothing has been set in stone.
Yeah.
So right now we know that some things are in place, but the general idea of things is that this is not final, is that they are going to, at some point, to go into a negotiation and try to figure out a deal that, will be best serving for everybody. So we don't know. What we know is that things are going to get more expensive.
Yeah.
But we also don't know how, in the grand scheme of things, it's going to impact the buyer. For example, will buyers be okay paying a tariff if they don't have to pay income tax?
Yeah.
Right? We don't know. We have no idea right now. The best that we can do is prepare and pivot on what we currently are dealing with. Right? So that is my general understanding of things, is that we don't know what is going to come of this, but we know what is happening right now, and that is what I think that we should focus on. Maybe things will get more expensive, right? But it's all relative to how much disposable income the consumers will have. So if the consumers will have more disposable income because they don't have to pay income tax, then they might be okay paying the tariff. If they have to pay income tax and things get 145% more expensive, then obviously the consumer is going to change. They're not going to buy things that they may deem luxurious. They might buy more of the things that they need to survive. It all depends on how things are going to play out. And the only thing about it is that this is just the beginning of it. So we don't know long term how it's going to impact everything. This is my understanding of the situation.
Makes sense. Completely makes sense. All right. So at the end, will you please give us the biggest piece of advice for viewers who are doing some business and maybe struggling with the challenges, or maybe there is someone who is thinking to be their own boss? So give us a few words.
So the biggest and the best advice that I ever received and that changed my life is that how you do the smallest thing is how you do the biggest thing. So if you are, attentive, if you are obsessive about what it is that you do, if you are, a perfectionist, or if you can't sleep because you didn't do something right or something is bothering you, right? You will have the personality and you will have the drive to keep your business going in every single circumstance and every single challenge and every single moment, because it means you're not leaving things unturned. It means that you are invested in seeing things succeed. And with time and this investment and this commitment to maximum professionalism, right? You will break through, you will see the light of day. It is, and with a little bit of luck, obviously we can't take luck out of the equation, but essentially it is, how committed you are to doing the smallest task is how committed you will be to doing the biggest thing. So that is my biggest advice to anybody. Give 100% to every single thing that you do, and it will give you rewards. If it's not going to give you rewards in business, personally and professionally, it is going to set you up to see success at some particular point in your life.
That's a beautiful advice. A bit bitter truth, but that's a beautiful advice.
It is listen, you know this yourself. You're in business. Like, People don't understand how competitive things are.
Exactly.
Like, it's very competitive. It is, if you are not on your toes, especially, when you're like in industries like ours, right? Like, you have to have that personality. You have to be eager to want things, to get things. So I always tell, one of my pitches used to be, I always used to tell clients, like, I may not be the smartest, but what I can promise you is that nobody will outwork me. Like, I will work night and day until I figure out the problem and give you the solution that you need.
That's the point from where you will start getting rewards. Awesome, Florind. It was really nice talking to you, and I really enjoyed the podcast. Please, at the end, let the people know if they want to reach you, how they can reach you. You can share your website or social media handles, whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can actually go right ahead on our website at metalla.digital and just hit apply and see if you qualify. You can also follow me on my LinkedIn and send me messages on my LinkedIn. I'm open to, mentoring people, giving advice, and, seeing, how I can help if you need the help. So.
Awesome. Well, Pro, thank you. Thanks for joining us today, and we will stay in touch.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank
my
you.
friend. It was nice speaking with you, and have a good one.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.